The first core sample that changed everything came up on day 37 of our expedition. I remember the exact moment, Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka sliding the cylindrical ice core from its housing, his gloved hands moving with the precision of a surgeon. The overhead LEDs cast harsh shadows across his face as he placed it on the examination table. "Elena, come look at this," he said, voice unusually tight. I crossed the cramped lab module, leaving my data logging mid-entry. The research station creaked around us, metal contracting in the -40 degrees Celsius darkness outside. 6 weeks into our 8-month deployment at Polaris Station, the northernmost year-round research facility on Earth, and I was still adjusting to the constant sounds of the structure fighting against the cold. The core sample looked ordinary at first, compressed ice with visible annual layers dating back thousands of years. But as Hiroshi directed my attention to a specific section about 3/4 down the meter-long cylinder, I saw it. A dark inclusion, maybe 2 centimeters across, suspended in ice we'd already dated to approximately 15,000 years old. "Is that organic?" I asked, reaching for the magnifier. Hiroshi nodded. "I think so. And look." He pointed to tiny dark threads radiating outward from the inclusion. These structures appeared to be extending through the ice matrix. I stared at the filaments. They looked almost like roots or fungal hyphae. But nothing should be preserved like this, with this level of structural integrity, after 15 millennia frozen solid. "We need to get Robinson to look at this," I said, referring to our microbiologist. Neither of us said what we were thinking. Nothing should be growing inside solid ice that predated human civilization. Station Director Carlson called an emergency meeting after Robinson's preliminary analysis. All 12 of us crowded into the common area. Scientists and support staff representing 7 countries, all experts in our fields. "I'll be direct," Carlson said, his Norwegian accent thicker than usual, a sign of stress I'd learned to recognize. Dr. Robinson has identified active microbial structures in ice core KP37. The organisms appear to be viable. The room erupted in overlapping questions. Carlson raised his hands for silence. "We've isolated the sample according to containment protocols. For now, we continue our research with extreme caution. Dr. Robinson will sequence the DNA and will determine if this represents a novel extremophile or something previously catalogued." Mei-Lin Chen, our atmospheric chemist, leaned forward. "Is there contamination risk to the station?" "The sample is secure," Robinson answered. Short and wiry, with a Scottish accent that grew more pronounced when excited, he seemed barely able to contain himself. "But this isn't just interesting, it's revolutionary. These microorganisms have cellular structures unlike anything in our taxonomy." I caught Hiroshi's eye across the room. His expression mirrored my own unease. We'd been the first to handle that core. "One more thing," Carlson added as we prepared to disperse. "No external communications about this discovery until we've verified our findings. The last thing we need is sensationalist headlines about alien bacteria while we're still investigating." As it turned out, external communications would soon be the least of our worries. 3 days later, Hiroshi didn't show up for breakfast. In the small, isolated world of Polaris Station, disruptions to routine were immediately noticeable. "Probably caught that stomach bug that's been going around," said Anders, our Swedish meteorologist, between bites of reconstituted eggs. I nodded, but something felt off. Hiroshi was meticulous about schedules, and he hadn't mentioned feeling ill when we'd parted ways after dinner the previous night. After finishing my coffee, I headed to his quarters and knocked. No answer. I tried the handle. Unlocked. The room was empty. Bed made with military precision. I checked the lab next, thinking he might have started early. Empty as well, but his laptop was open, screensaver swirling across the display. I jiggled the mouse, and his desktop appeared. A document was open. His research journal. The last entry read only, "It's so beautiful when you really look. The cold clarifies everything." A chill ran through me that had nothing to do with the station's temperature. I headed directly to Carlson's office. We found Hiroshi an hour later, after reviewing security footage. He had left the station at 2:17 a.m. through the secondary airlock. The exterior camera showed him walking calmly into the pitch-black Arctic night, wearing only his base layers. No parka, no insulated pants, no gloves. In temperatures hovering around minus 43 degrees Celsius, he should have developed severe frostbite within minutes, lost consciousness shortly after. The search team found him 2 kilometers from the station, partially buried in a snowdrift. He was still alive, barely. His skin was a mottled blue-white, limbs rigid with frostbite. But most disturbing were his eyes, open and alert, tracking our movements as we approached. His lips moved soundlessly, frozen into a strange smile. As we loaded him onto the stretcher, he grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. His skin felt like ice against mine, even through my gloves.
"It wants to show us something wonderful,"
he whispered, voice raspy, in the deep ice. So old, so patient. Dr. Valentina Petrov, our medical officer, worked frantically to stabilize Hiroshi. His core temperature had dropped to 27 degrees Celsius, a level that should have killed him. Yet his vital signs remained surprisingly strong. "This doesn't make medical sense," Valentina muttered as she examined his frostbitten extremities. "These tissue readings. It's like his cellular structure is changing to adapt to the hypothermia." Robinson hovered nearby, snapping photos and taking samples from Hiroshi's skin. "Look at this," he said, pointing to his tablet screen. "The same filamentous structures we found in the ice core. They're present in his bloodstream." I stared at the microscopic image. Dark, branching threads moving through what should have been normal human blood cells. "How is that possible?" "I don't know yet," Robinson admitted, "but they seem to be restructuring his cellular chemistry, almost like antifreeze proteins, but far more advanced." Carlson instituted immediate quarantine protocols. Hiroshi was isolated in the medical bay. Those of us who'd handled the core sample or participated in the rescue were confined to our quarters when not working, with regular medical checks. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Hiroshi's frozen smile, hearing his whispered words. "It wants to show us something wonderful." I must have dozed off eventually because I woke to pounding on my door. It was Anders, eyes wide with panic. "It's Mei Lin. She's gone. And Robinson too." We found their tracks leading away from the station, heading in the same direction Hiroshi had taken. But a storm was brewing, visibility rapidly deteriorating. Carlson called off the search after 30 minutes, a difficult decision, but the right one. In whiteout conditions, we'd only risk more lives. When we returned, Dr. Petrov met us with devastating news. "Hiroshi is gone," she said, face pale. I sedated him heavily after you left, locked the medical bay, and went to prepare more supplies. When I returned 10 minutes later, he had somehow broken through the reinforced observation window. Impossible strength. Anders kicked a chair in frustration. What the hell is happening? I thought about the core sample, still securely stored in the containment unit. We need to destroy it, I said. Whatever this is, it started with that ice. Carlson nodded grimly. Agreed. Elena, you and I will incinerate the sample. The rest of you secure the station. No one goes outside no matter what. As we walked to the lab, Carlson confided, I sent an emergency transmission to the mainland before the meeting. If something happens to us, they need to know. If they'll believe it, I said. That's why I sent all Robinson's preliminary data too. This isn't mass hallucination or cabin fever. In the lab, I punched in the code to open the containment unit. The cylindrical case slid open with a pneumatic hiss. It was empty. The storm raged for 3 days, trapping us inside. Communications limited to emergency bandwidth. We organized into pairs, no one ever alone. Food supplies were gathered into the common area where we all slept in shifts. On the 4th morning, as the wind finally began to subside, we heard it, a rhythmic tapping on the station's outer hull. Tap, tap, tap. Pause. Tap, tap, tap. They've come back, whispered Anders. Carlson checked the exterior cameras. 4 figures stood outside the main airlock. Hiroshi, Robinson, Mei-Lin, and Victor. Our Russian engineer who had disappeared during the night despite our precautions. They wore no cold weather gear. Their skin had a blue-white translucence, with dark veins visible beneath. They didn't move like people suffering from extreme hypothermia. Their movements were fluid, coordinated. They want in, said Valentina, voice shaking. We can't let them, I replied, remembering the thread-like structures in the Hiroshi's blood. The tapping continued, now at multiple points around the station. Through the camera feeds, we could see them splitting up, surrounding us. Anders pointed to a new camera angle. What are they doing? Mei-Lin was kneeling at one of the ventilation intakes, her hands working deftly, despite what should have been debilitating frostbite. She had removed the protective cover and was reaching inside. They're trying to override the environmental systems, Carlson realized. Shut everything down, manual control only. We raced to secure critical systems, but we were too late. The temperature control systems began to fail one by one. Within hours, the heating units were offline completely. The interior temperature started to drop. By evening, it had fallen to 10 degrees Celsius and continued to decline. We huddled in the common area, wearing every layer of clothing available, discussing desperate plans. The emergency helicopter, suggested Valentina. Carlson shook his head. The hangar doors are frozen shut from the outside. They've thought of everything. But what do they want? Demanded Anders. Why not just kill us? I had been turning a theory over in my mind for hours. I don't think it wants to kill us. I think it wants to change us. All eyes turned to me. Think about it. Hiroshi, Robinson, Mei-Lin, Victor. They could have died out there, but instead, they adapted. Whatever this organism is, it reconstructs human biology to survive extreme cold. But why? Asked Valentina. Reproduction, I suggested. Maybe it can't spread on its own anymore. It needs hosts. The lights flickered and died, leaving us in the dim glow of emergency lighting. The temperature had dropped to 5 degrees Celsius. We have the flamethrowers from the equipment shed, Anders said. We could try to fight our way out. Carlson considered this. To reach the secondary research station at Edge Point would be nearly 300 kilometers across the ice. Without proper vehicles, it's self-destruction. Staying here is self-destruction, countered Anders. A new sound interrupted us, the main airlock cycling open. They had overridden the security systems. Time's up, said Carlson. Everyone to the emergency escape tunnel. The escape tunnel was a last resort feature, a narrow passage leading from the station's basement level to a small sheltered exit point 100 meters away. As we descended the ladder to the access point, I heard footsteps above us. They were inside the station. The temperature had fallen below freezing now. Our breath fogged in the dim emergency lighting as Carlson unlocked the tunnel entrance. The metal door refused to budge. Ice, he grunted, straining against it. Frozen shut from the other side. Anders and I added our strength, but it wouldn't move. We were trapped. A voice called down from above, Hiroshi's, but different now, resonant, with an unnatural depth.
There's nothing to fear,
he said, descending the ladder with inhuman grace. The others followed behind him.
The transformation is beautiful. You become part of something ancient, something that has waited beneath the ice for millennia.
Robinson's face, though changed, still held a scientist's fascination.
It traveled here on a meteorite before humans existed. It slept in the ice until we woke it. So perfect. It doesn't kill its hosts. It improves them.
Improves, sputtered Anders. You're not even human anymore. Maylene smiled, her lips blue-black.
We're better. Cold doesn't hurt us. We don't age. And soon, we'll leave this place and share this gift.
They advanced slowly, backing us against the frozen door. I could see dark filaments moving beneath their skin, more pronounced now, like living circuitry. Hiroshi extended his hand toward me.
Elena, remember what we discovered. Life finds a way, even in the harshest environments. This is evolution.
For a moment, I almost understood. There was a terrible logic to it. An organism that could transform humans to survive in conditions that would normally kill them. In a warming world, perhaps the deepest cold would become the last refuge. Then I felt it. A faint warm breeze on my neck. The door behind us wasn't frozen shut. It was being held closed from the other side. As Hiroshi reached for me, the door suddenly swung open. Blinding light flooded in, and the figures in hazmat suits rushed past us, wielding flamethrowers that roared to life. "Move now," shouted a voice through a respirator. We stumbled through the doorway as the infected researchers retreated from the flames. The hazmat team formed a barrier between us and them. Outside, more containment personnel waited with a heated transport. As they rushed us inside, I caught a glimpse of helicopters circling the station. "How did you know?" I asked the team leader as the transport doors sealed. "Director Carlson's transmission," came the reply. When we lost contact after the storm, the International Oversight Committee activated emergency protocols. This isn't the first time something has been found in the ancient ice. I looked back at the station through the transport window. Flames were now visible from multiple points. What about the others? Hiroshi and... "Not human anymore," the leader said flatly. "Containment is the priority now." As we pulled away, I could see dark figures moving beyond the perimeter flames, retreating not toward the station, but out onto the open ice, heading north, where it's colder, where they could wait. I pressed my hand against the heated window, watching them disappear into the white expanse. And for just a moment, I thought I felt something stir within me. a whisper of curiosity about that perfect, clarifying coal they had described, a wonder that would only be revealed in the deepest ice.